Hello. This will serve as a tutorial for instructors running a class at American Heritage College. This first part of the tutorial will be about getting into the class and seeing the operations of the class. Then we will move on to editing the elements, which are resources for the class and activities for the class. So for right now, as an instructor, an administrator is going to send you an email. So for example, this is your email box. And for example, you are instructor test or Joe Smith. Here is the login for your course. Your user ID is going to generally be your first initial of your name and your last name together in small letters. And your password is going to be sent to you. And you're generally going to be able to change that password when you click on to your Moodle class link. So when you click on this Moodle class link, that'll bring you to your dashboard. And at your dashboard, you will see this beginning site. This is how it will start when you come into your class. That dashboard, as you can see, was on the top main menu. Now, unless you are already teaching a class, you won't see anything here. You will see your future class that's been set up for you that you'll be teaching here. And if you have taught past classes, you'll see them here. For the sake of this tutorial, we're assuming this is the first time you're being assigned to teach, and you will find your class here in the future. So you click on this class, and you'll see that the class is already basically set up for you. Classes are generally 5 sessions, and generally either 4 sessions of online training with 1 week of on-site training, or a blend or hybrid thereof. You can put in announcements, and you will have a syllabus for which your course will be set up. I would suggest that you save your files to your own personal computer so you have everything in order that you can study offline. You can also take these out and change them, but as far as editing goes, I'll do that in the next tutorial. We'll look at editing your activities and resources. Here, I'm going to show you your activities and resources and how everything is ready for you to do your class. Alright, so here's an example. You could open your syllabus, and this would describe and this of course would also be available to students, describing the overall outline and makeup of the class. Okay? Of course, you'd have your instructor information in there. And then that brings us to our different modules. So we have an index on the left that shows our modules. Generally, we have 5 online or blended sessions, and you can access these sessions one section at a time by clicking into the section. This is our first session of Principles of Management. Our overall certificate program here, and the example tutorial is our Business Management Certificate program. So the classes are broken out, or sessions, into the sessions, the 5 sessions, and those sessions are then broken into resources and activities. So your resources start with a folder, and that folder has all of the supplemental materials you'll be using for your class. These supplemental materials go along with your lectures and your lessons that you'll be teaching in Module 1, the first week or first session of Principles of Management. Alright, so then we can go back and see our next resource. Our next resource is a Psychology of Success workbook. Again, I suggest you save it to a folder for your class so that you can refer to it and go through this to interact with your students and this resource. They'll be instructed to download it and go through it. Okay. Then, going back, here's our breadcrumb file here. Going back to Principles of Management, easiest way to do that. We then see a little lesson or resource from YouTube on organizational design. You actually could look at that through YouTube as well and see some other references and elements of organizational design that you might want to share with the class as well. Alright. Then, going back on our breadcrumb trail back to Principles of Management, our next resource, organizational structure. And we could do the same thing here. If we want to look at the whole thing, we could break it into full screen. We could go to YouTube, or we could escape. And you could see the concept here.
Do you call the other people by their first names? Do you call them by their title? What?
Okay. Then that brings us back to the nature of business and social responsibility. This is a PowerPoint program that has a good overview of the elements in Principles of Management session. And this is a resource that actually comes from the main publisher of the book that you use as an instructor for the class. Again, I suggest you save, and then you would have that resource reference, and you could use that for doing a presentation about the dynamics and nature of management in business management. Okay. Also, it has little notes here to help you as well. Okay. That brings us then to activities. So under here we have our activities. Now this would be an orientation meeting that you do online. I'll show you again in the next tutorial how to edit these things. But you would now use that, edit that, to put together a synchronous meeting on the software. I'll show you how to do that in the next tutorial. You would set that up before your class so it would be ready to do with your students in class. Again, we can go back on our breadcrumb trail back to Principles of Management. and go down to our activities. The next one is personality assessments. Here are links to the personality assessments, free tests that you would schedule for your students to take these tests so that they could then get feedback on their personality traits and their behavioral dynamics, which will be very helpful for them to know to better communicate as business persons, as aspiring business managers. And that brings us back to, we go back to our breadcrumb trail to principles of management. And here we are again at our session there, where we have our next activity, the 1 minute manager. Here we can go into our 1 minute manager. We're going to go back to our session, yes. We go into our manager edit, and we can look at our 1 minute manager, and we have attached files here to the 1 minute manager. And with those attached files, which by the way, that's what this logo here means, manage files. Again, we can do the same thing. We can download, or, well, actually it's not, you don't have a choice of opening from here. You would download this again to your little file wherever you're doing this. Just to give you an example, I have a whole file on the business certificate, and here's all my little files that I save. Here's the 1 minute manager, and you could open that and read your 1 minute manager. The students can download that as well and read their 1 minute manager, and then they go back and they get ready to discuss that in a discussion board. So we go back to our next workbook here, Psychology of Success workbook assignment. So go through the Psychology of Success. By the way, here's another link to it. We saw it in our resources. I also linked it here in the activities because you'll be using it here. Going back, we then do our little assignment on the psychology of success. Research 3 additional individuals that, in your opinion, have or had a positive impact on society, etc., and so forth. And then also, they could share on doing a 5 to 7 minute presentation as what you as a professional can add to any team. Again, I'll show you how to put together the presentations online in an asynchronous learning module when we do the editing. Right now I'm just showing you all the resources and activities that you have access to as an instructor. So, going back to session 1 again, you have more. You have a number of other activities you can go through. They're all quite self-explanatory. And then what you would do is, when you're done with that, you go to your next session. In this case, you can get it on your left side here, or you can go in order right here. And now you'll notice you can go to the next one. So this is marketing principles and practices. Same idea. You've got the folder that has all of the different elements for the references and supporting materials for the marketing, and then you can go back again to your session 2, marketing principles and practices. Here's the other resources, and then here are the activities for marketing principles and practices. If you wanted to go back to the first session of principles, you could go there. You want to go to back to the second, you go here. Just to keep everything nice and pretty and organized, they're displayed individually on one page per session. Here's internet technology, and again resources, and again activities, and then here's interpersonal communication. Again, you have resources and activities, and last but not least, leadership and management session 5, resources and activities, and then in this case they get a final test, and that is pretty much the concept of going through your program. Again, here's your dashboard, and this is where you would start.